Hey folks, Chris here with BigCat Ranch. So today I want to give you 5 things to look for when buying or looking for off-grid property. First off, let's just define what off-grid property is. This is purely my opinion, but I think it's a pretty good rule of thumb. So off-grid to me means no power, no city power, no city water, no city sewer. Those 3 things are mean you're disconnected from any city services, municipal services. And that's, I think, a pretty good rule of thumb. There might be other things, factors involved, but that pretty much, to me, constitutes off-grid living or purchasing off-grid property. So I'm not saying you have to have those 3 things. You can obviously to homestead or whatever, is different varying degrees of available services or choice of adding services. But those 3 things constitute off-grid to me. So that's the baseline. So 5 things that I would typically be looking for, and what I was looking for when we bought our 160 acre mountainside. So the first thing, just being the way the property is facing, like what is the orientation of the land? Is it, obviously if you're in a valley somewhere, it's flat. Be aware of where the mountains are around you, and what kind of sunlight you're getting. So if you're interested in growing or using solar, for us, south facing slope, it was ideal. We have the sun the majority of the day, and we can do a really good solar system on this property. So just think through where the shade is, especially in the winter, where you get little to sometimes in some places we notice people buying where there's no sunlight available in the winter. Well, obviously that's going to be pretty tough to harness the sun's energy. So just think that through a little bit. And then, like, what do you have available for water? And again, this changes, depending on where in the country you are. But what is there? Is there running water, stagnant water? We were definitely looking for something. Obviously, you want fresh water, but we notice a lot of people buying in places where there's lots of stagnant pool of water. Just becomes hard to get a good quality water, like, just drilling, to find something that's not, it's not polluted. And, or in the beginning when you just have to, find water to groundwater, clean groundwater, it's tough to find that if you have just lots of stagnant water around you. So, ideally, and that's what we had here or have here, is artesian spring. And so we have our own water source. And then kind of as a side note in this kind of idea of water is, what's the, like, do you have flowing water where you can harness it? And going back to the power source, or finding some kind of a harnessing the, energy for power, you can do hydroelectric. If you have sort of an elevation gain or drop with water, it helps. Hydroelectric is a great source. So anyways, that was one of the things, and we have that here. So that was one of the things we started, or we thought about. And then talking about off grid with sewer, and you can you can obviously dig a pit and use an outhouse and things like that, but not everybody is happy, depending on who you have with you, going to an outhouse for too terribly long. Some can live with it forever, but in our case, we had to think about putting in a septic system. So your perk tests and things like that, soil tests, like what is your drainage look like for an in-ground sewer system. And we've done some here and it's worked out quite well. The other thing I would add to that is, how hard is it to dig? I know that sounds kind of silly, like you're like, oh, I just dig a hole. In our country, and it's gravelly, it's very hard pan, and digging down is really a lot of work. Like digging by hand is brutal, and then bringing equipment in to dig is expensive. We fortunately have some pretty good size equipment, so but we have to work at it. Like to get a good size hole takes a while. So digging is yeah, is expensive and hard work. So yeah, just thinking those things through. So that's third. What's the ground? Like what type of ground are you working with? That obviously feeds into another thing is you know, if you want to farm it or grow things, like you should know kind of what your soil types are without having to haul in a lot of organic material to make a garden and things like that. And then fourth, I would say, is location. So when you start out, are you gonna just, you know, go full, you know, kind of full live off the land and live there and kind of start from nothing? Which is possibility. You got to kind of count the costs, right? And but a lot of people, you know, are developing it over a period of years. So you don't want to be traveling hours and hours, like driving hundreds of kilometers or miles to get to where this place is, so that, you know, you can spend a weekend or, you know, whatever, a day or two. If you're spending a day or two to drive to a place or hike in or whatever, the amount of time it's going to take just to get there and back is going to, it's costing you a lot of money and time that you could be developing something. So yeah, just proximity to where you live. And and for us, it was important to not be beyond 3 hours. That was kind of our limit, and we're kind of we're 3 hours away. So that makes yeah, set sort of a perimeter of where we're looking in proximity to where we live. And then I would say the fifth thing is again getting back to kind of that food source. If you're going to try to be sustainable, like what type of ground do you have? Can you plant gardens fairly, you know, quickly? Can you raise cattle? Can you run some livestock? And what is the, you know, do you have fields that you need to clear? What does it take to kind of be sustainable? You got to look around and think about what it takes to make, you know, if you have water, electricity, and you can kind of get some food growing fairly easily, fruit trees and, you know, whatever, vegetables and things like that, a garden. Like what does it take to get that going on this piece of property? And one thing that a lot of people, I don't think, really consider is how hard it is to grow a garden in, let's say, remote areas where there's lots of deer and animals are going to, you know, deer look at a vegetable garden as pretty low hanging fruit. They're going to be in there and ransacking it. So yeah, you got to fence it off, guard it off, and it takes quite a bit of energy to keep the animals out. So those are considerations. I would say the other thing as far as livestock goes is, you know, just running livestock is actually fair. It's a fairly big commitment, obviously, and takes some investment. So, in my opinion, if you're going to look for somewhere, you know, the easier thing is to just let nature grow animals for you. So what I'm talking about is that you have, talking about animals, I got one following me here. Hey, buddy. It's funny. He follows me around when I go for these walks, and I didn't even know he was with me. Anyways, is the animals that nature raises without you having to put much energy into it or any energy into it, which I'm talking about hunting here. So if you have an area where, you know, you can, let's say, harvest nature's meat source and take a moose or a deer or an elk or something, bear, something that you can make into, you know, into a meat source, a good protein source. Well, you know, that you're not, maybe you have to buy a permit or something, or a tag, and invest in a decent rifle. But besides that, that's a lot cheaper than buying, you know, having to supplement feed livestock, and pen things off and make shelters and all those types of things. Now, it's a choice, obviously, but I would say, you know, if you can harvest a deer, a few deer, or a moose or something, you know, within proximity to your land, ooh, that is ideal. So look at that as a potential option. So there's 5 things. I hope this is helpful. There's probably many other. Well, there is. I know for sure. There's many others, other factors involved. Like, to me, you know, as a bonus factor, I would say, you know, timber. What do you have for trees available? To me, that's very important, right? I have a sawmill, and so I can make my own lumber, which is really an important factor. I would add that one as a bonus. Just looking at what timber type you have and how much is available to help you out, cut costs, and just make your sustainability and yeah, just putting up buildings so much cheaper. So anyways, there's 5 things with a bonus, and my definition of what off-grid is. So I hope this is helpful to somebody out there. Thanks for watching, and have yourself a great day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.